Welcome into the show. Mega IPOs is going to be our topic today and what that means for the crypto market. You don't want to miss it. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back in. Let's get into it. I do want to thank our sponsor, and that is Tangem. This is a place where you guys can get into self-custody. If you have not experienced self-custody and you're in crypto, you're watching our channel maybe for the first time, this is the wallet to get, everyone. I've helped people set this up, and literally, I used to doubt that this was a 3-minute setup. No, it's a 3-minute setup. It's that fast, and people really get it. So self-custody, get your stuff off exchanges, put it in self-custody, go with Tangem. Use our link down below to get some discounts. Let's go into it today. China is now launching the world's first RMB tokenized money market fund. This is a big deal because it's a green light for China now in wake of what we've seen here in the U.S., and that is the passage of the Genius Act, which is a stablecoin bill here in the U.S. If you look at the renminbi right here, deposits in Hong Kong right now, they increased 6.5% by January. This is almost $1 trillion at the end of January that's in money markets funds. That means there's a lot of money on the sidelines right now looking for opportunities. And one of the things that could come into it are some of the publicly traded companies. This is one of the companies that was approved to be able to participate in this space, and look at the explosion that happened, much like if you compare this to like Circle, but with an Asian counterpart. And the other things they're going to be looking at this is what companies will start to play out in the public space, in the IPO space here in the United States. We're going to highlight 4 companies today that you guys want to watch. I want to go to this next clip though. This will get into China softening up around stablecoins. Take a look.
The stock has jumped 5-fold in just a couple of weeks since this license was granted.
Pretty much to the day when the United States rolls out its Genius bill. And the HKMA is showing that it's back to $1 trillion renminbi that is sitting in bank savings. When
we had Ledger, the CEO was asking me, do you think China will soften its stance on cryptocurrencies? And I boldly told him, no, I didn't think so at that time. This was a couple months ago. And with all that it's doing now, maybe not Bitcoin, but there is stable coins here. You don't think that China is softening its stance towards accepting this mode of digital currency?
Well, I mean, if you phrase it like that, then most certainly it is softening its approach to the space. In terms of real policy, I don't anticipate that occurring anytime in the near future.
One of the things that will happen, though, is in the IPO space, and the opportunity of seeing some major moves in IPOs onboarding, like what we've seen in the crypto space, could move a lot of that money over. So take a look at this clip. This breaks it down of why the big tech may suffer.
Because we have 4 IPO offerings this week. The floodgates are finally perhaps opening.
Well, I wouldn't quite call it floodgates, but I do think that we're seeing a good opening here, and we're seeing it both on the crypto side, as you point out. I mean, Circle's up almost 6x. And there are a lot of things I'm cautious about in the crypto space, but with that kind of performance, I think you're going to see others try to hurry up and hit this window. I think it's going to be the growing dispersion of performance in big tech. I was on your show this week last year and was more bullish on Microsoft and Amazon and more skeptical about Apple. Amazon is up 25%, Microsoft's up 15%, Apple's down 5%. And I think that's a continuing trend.
All right, so I think he's right. I think we are setting up for maybe a renaissance within some of these early stage IPOs. One of the ones that obviously we are watching, much like what we saw in the performance of Circle, is XRP. Well, we'll call it Ripple, because Ripple's IPO is happening. Will it happen in 2025 is the real question. And if it does, if you look at just some of what the valuation could be, I mean, this could be a $100 billion company. It would essentially be the most valuable company, especially in the crypto space, by leaps and bounds, and the #1 strategic reserve asset holder of the token XRP. So that one still plays into it very strong. Going back to China and what their strategy is, if you look at their sandbox participants, this of course is the group right here. The ones to watch, of course, are Standard Chartered and Animoca. This is also tied into Ripple. And I want to play a clip from the RD Innotech guy, because this will explain a little bit more about how this is going to work. Take a look.
How are you involved in the stablecoin bill?
So we actually help a lot of potential issuers setting up their system and operation right now.
Do you think that the Hong Kong stablecoin and the ECNY will help facilitate cross-border trade?
Actually, I don't think so. Because once they involve cross-border with mainland, it's really, really tricky and really, really complicated. ECNY won't be circulating outside China. Hong Kong issued stablecoin won't be able circulating inside China, so there's no way they can do that. But for example, within their ecosystem, and they pack with their stablecoin with offshore RMB, and through that channel to facilitating some cross-border settlements, everything, I think it's possible.
All right, so what he's getting at is they won't mix between the stable coins being China and mainland. Hong Kong, of course, one of the biggest markets out there. And to his point, this is a good example right here. Hong Kong hosts around 70% of global offshore yuan trading. So they're essentially the lion's share of the market. And they're talking about cross-border payments here. Is this possibly where Ripple slides in here as the supplier to cross-border payments? If you go back to September of 2016, this is where it started to play out around the Standard Chartered strategic investment into Ripple. All of this starts to put the dominoes into place, and it's been going for quite some time. Fast forward to today, and you go over to this article right here, Standard Chartered pilots the Ripple platform to address cross-border payment frictions. This, of course, is just around July, just a couple of weeks ago. Now, of course, Standard Chartered predicting that XRP could hit 1250 by 2028. So again, this is all, tied into legal clarity, the potential for cross-border payments tied into what's happening with the renminbi. And again, stablecoins now running potentially wild in Asia. On another note, if you look at BNY, this of course is the potential where it could be the custody arm of how offshore RMB could play into this. So again, this of course all centered around what they're doing in terms of accelerating their digital assets platform. While BNY has custody of Ripple's new stablecoin, this is RLUSD. Now, one thing I want to note on is this clip right here, because this gets into how mainland China's stablecoin might actually be allowed. Take a look.
Hong Kong has started trials to allow mainland residents to purchase stablecoins. Do you think that this is an encouraging sign?
Personally, I think they should allow mainland visitors to purchase stablecoin. Because there's only 7 million people in Hong Kong, so that will become a much bigger market. But in order to do that, actually, there's a lot of problems you need to solve. The first one, KYC. Actually, we are helping Hong Kong to do that. So any small, medium company come here, click buttons, they can issue their own stablecoin under regulation. Another one is we also set up, we want to link all the stablecoin issued in Hong Kong with global stablecoin together. So which means you can swap between them and you can basically pay each other across different stablecoins. So I think with those three set up, it will form the infrastructure. So the management tool of private key will become a very popular daily app for everyone in next 3 to 5 years.
All right, so you can see there's an adoption layer that's starting to brew within Asia. If you think about some of the companies that are going to try to take part in this next generation economy, especially around crypto, one of the ones you got to watch is an Asian company called Animoca Brands. We've had Yat Siu on before. Animoca Brands targets a $6 billion US IPO. This, of course, again, is all coming in because of the pro-crypto shift that we've had here in the US. And Animoca has done something that is a little bit different than a lot of companies do when they launch products and services. And I think they're going to do that with their IPO. And that is they kind of sandbag a little bit, if you know what I mean. They come in a little bit softer, but let me play this clip for you. It'll show you a little bit more.
Building culture is one of the hardest things in any organization. We're over 1,000 people, so managing that culture across the board is always a challenge. We were listed a public company in Australia, and we were given a choice in 2019: stay a public company on an Australian stock exchange, or basically dump crypto. Normally, when you get delisted from any stock exchange, it's the end of a business. We chose to stay with crypto and we got delisted from the Australian Stock Exchange. Kind of demonstrates the extent of our conviction. This was something worth sacrificing for.
All right, so that of course is Yat Siu, CEO of Animoca Brands. And the thing that he's getting, first of all, that is the biggest mistake ever by the Australian Stock Exchange in delisting Animoca Brands now, which will probably be one of the biggest listings here in the United States. And if you look at their history, all the way back to their Mochaverse NFT launch, they did this at a very low rate to where all it looks like is straight up with these NFTs. And if you think about every company that Animoca is involved in, which is massive, this is an example. Right here is Mochaverse. The tokens and the NFTs were free to everybody. So what it looks like in this comparison, and in fact is just straight up. And if this is the case where they don't list at a high valuation, it might give a lot of people an opportunity to get in on a major move in the market, like what we saw with Circle. So pay attention to what's when and what Animoca Brands is doing. On another note, I want to jump to this right here, and this is NFTs sliding into treasuries. And what I mean by that is look at what is happening right now in the ETH circle. We're seeing all sorts of companies. ETH Machine just launched this week. We saw the amount of move that we've seen with SharpLink Gaming, Tom Lee's group. This is an acceleration point, and now Tom Lee, of course, putting a PENGU on his avatar within X shows that we're going to see the kind of acceleration maybe into NFTs that we're seeing within Ethereum. So that in itself also plays into all of these companies that could be making their next strategic move, one of which is Animoca Brands making their strategic investment in Pudgy Penguins, PENGU, the token. So PENGU and Pudgy Penguins, likelihood of another company that could be going IPO under the Animoca brand. So watch out for that one. If you look at just PENGU in general, right here is the high back on its launch back in December of last year. And now just starting to hit its trend. This is up 10x from its low. So consider this, guys. If we see PENGU start to really do something big in the market, and in fact we see maybe an IPO, this token itself could get very interesting going forward. I want to play a clip by Luca Netz, and he's explaining how he thinks they're going to flip Dogecoin. Take a look.
Everything changed when the CBOE picked this up. That's why it was such a big deal.
What is that?
When the CBOE picks it up, it means that an exchange is willing to put their name on it and actually put like some sort of credibility on the line.
Wow.
So Doge is the only other meme coin picked up by the CBOE.
Oh, wow.
So there's only 10 coins that got picked up by the CBOE, and they're all north of $5 billion. The bet that I'm making is this. I'm making the bet that when those green candles start ripping and mania starts ripping, those fractions, because there's still fractions in everyone's wallet. I'm going after the big kahuna. I'm going after Doge. Dude, before the market gave out, Kevin, like the thing was up and to the right. Dude, up until Trump and Melania, we were gonna go flip SHIB. I mean, we were right there. Dude, you put me in like a real altcoin season, bro. We've never seen that, bro.
Yeah.
I love Luca. I mean, listen, this is something you guys have to pay attention to, because if you compare holding an NFT to holding Ethereum, you could go back here all the way back in June of 22, holding it less than an ETH right there, to where it's trading right now at over 15. So that's a good example of why this phenomenon might take place. Other points I want to get into is that there's one more company to watch right here. It's not Kalshi, but they are valued at $2 billion in their latest funding round. The one to watch right here is going to be Polymarket. There's a reason why. I want to go to a clip real quick. This will explain a little bit more. Take a look.
Copeland, good morning to you, sir.
Thank you guys for having me.
So
round two.
Round two. You're back here in the U.S. This has been the dream.
Long time coming.
We talk about Polymarket as if everybody can use it, but the truth is that most folks couldn't.
I mean, I think the way you guys talk about Polymarket's kind of like become the Bloomberg terminal for reality almost.
And so what happens now?
Obviously, I think people are pretty surprised. It was like a big acquisition. So it's an exchange and a clearinghouse. That lets us go and serve brokerages and FCMs, as well as retail and institutions, which is really important. They all know and love Polymarket. When I get to meet these people, they say, oh my God, Polymarket's amazing, but I wish we could trade on Polymarket. Ask and you shall receive, right? So
how much does this compete like with Kalshi?
Okay. All right, so as you can see right there, I mean, Shane Copeland having a little bit of fun there with the guys over at CNBC. Point being is that Polymarket is primed for a move. Polymarket's going to launch its own stablecoin. Prediction market, of course, that in itself will start to be interesting, because if they start to weigh in on yield generating US dollars and they start to make that available back to their community, guys, this would have major effect on some of the biggest companies, publicly traded companies out there like DraftKings immediately. And that is something that you have to watch. And don't forget that Polymarket, now coming into the US, could go head to head with Kalshi for Robinhood's business, as well as others, and many other trading platforms that could go in this direction around some of these platforms like Polymarket. So those are the four that we're watching. We think those are the four that are going to make the most impact on the crypto universe as a whole, and most likely start to lure in traditional investments. So if you guys are not part of the Diamond Circle, get in right now. It's a great place to get additional content from us. Follow me on X at Paul Barron. I'll catch you next time right here on The Paul Barron Show.